Chronic migraine is 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine before they start. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It prevents on average 8 to 9 headache days a month versus 6 to 7 for placebo.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
And welcome into this week's episode of the one, the only, the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. The show before the show is here for another week as we get set to close down the month of April, the first month of the 2026 Minor League Baseball season. My name is Tyler Ron. Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra are in New York City. Fellas, what's the buzz? What's going on? How's things? Tell us everything.
Things are good. We have Matt Burns of Mapping the Path on the show this week, talking about minor league road trips. We talk about that a lot on the show, obviously, but it's nice to get a third party perspective on that. But while we're talking about driving around, that got me in the mind to tell a story from over the weekend that I think both of you will appreciate. I was back home in New England to visit family. My family, my girlfriend's family, her brother was in Boston for a conference, and we went to see my niece Madeline's soccer game on Saturday. And what as happens when you're the uncle in town, she wanted to drive back with us rather than her mother. So she got to come in my Toyota Corolla. And what did she point out first in the back seat is there are books back here. Very similar to what Tyler Mon and Benjamin Hill did.
Did she look for any advice on how to get into Boston University in 2008?
No.
Because I know a place. I know a book. I know a place where there is a book.
Well, so here's what happened. She looked at the books and she's like, why do you have books back here? And before I could answer, Brittany turns to her and says, oh, Uncle Sam reads those. And she's like, while driving? She's like, yeah, he reads them while driving. And then I say, no, I don't read them while driving. And she's like, good, because that's not safe. Mind you, she's 6 years old.
About that.
Right. She is right.
That's good.
She's 6 going on 7 in June. But she was getting mad at me for having, they were like magazines that she found. That is a reminder once again that I need to clean out my car. But
Sam, that was almost a year ago, the last time that you said you needed to clean out your car.
They're different books now.
And
I think I threw
it was pretty obvious that it had been 15 years since you had cleaned out the car. So is this, what are we supposed to believe here, Sam?
This is why I'm going public with this. I'm just increasing the pressure on myself to clean out my car. So that was
You're just accepting the controversy. You're welcoming it in rather than waiting for it to get away from you.
Yeah, I'm getting ahead of the controversy.
You don't need your niece going to the media, calling up Ben and being like, I got a storyline for next week on the show. You guys got to talk about
Local
this.
ball writer still has not cleaned out car. I have
a year after being publicly roasted on his own podcast.
Yeah, if we can recruit, Sam's family members, especially the kids, to get dirt on Sam.
Man, that is true. The walls are closing in, Sam.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
I know. Yeah.
Ben, any relatives put the screws to you about anything controversial regarding your personal hygiene? Since they're doing it to Sam, I figure they must be doing it to all of us at some point.
Yeah, not recently. No, not recently.
All right, that's good.
Ben is taking the smart route and just denying from
deny.
I like to share a good story, even if it makes me, it's especially if it makes me look bad. I almost feel better about myself when I tell stories that make me put me in a bad light. Then I almost feel more confident. Weirdly, been like that my whole life. But no, I'm just putting the screws to myself. Just trying to live a healthier lifestyle. I was talking about running last week. A whole week later, I'm still running.
Wow.
My body is sore right now, and I'm just trying to stay, accountable. And it's actually been, I think it's something I wanted to do. I think all those years of you really got to get out there and be more committed. Because now it's starting, I feel like, yes, I want to do this. It
Yeah.
hasn't been a big battle with myself to get out there. So that's been good. But I'm also wary of being like, oh, I exercise now. I'm a runner. And then just like in 3 months, it's like, oh, yeah, I remember when you talked about that for like 3 weeks and then stopped it. So I think that's one of the reasons I keep talking about it here, because like I'm on the record saying I'm going to get healthier, even if my body is so sore like it is right now. I just feel a bit decrepit.
That is my problem, is that I'll like pretend, like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a runner now. And then the next conversation that I have with somebody, they're like, how's the running going? And I'm like, oh yeah, that lasted like 48 hours. I'm not a runner. I'm not. So I very much admire that you're both runners, because I can't do it. I do other things.
I mean, Sam has been running for years. He's done full marathons. He's got a half marathon. I'm just trying to run like, in 10 and 12-minute intervals right now.
I get it, man. That's not easy. So kudos to both of you. You're doing good work. And kudos to all of you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, because that is good work. That is the mental equivalent of getting out and exercising or something. As we welcome you in and we say hello, you can get in touch with us, podcast at milb.com. Give us a rating and a review and a subscription. Does any of that matter? Who cares? It's 2026. The algorithm doesn't make any sense. I don't know what podcasts do these days, but we have fun every week talking minor league baseball, and that's what we are going to do this week. And we kick off this week's episode of the Show Before the Show, as always, with this week's edition of Ben's Biz Banter, in which we discuss the business of minor league baseball with our very own Benjamin Hill, presented by Circle K, the official convenience store of minor league baseball. And Ben, we dive in this week with a minor league wide ticket offer for baseball games this year. This is a very cool concept that is going to get a whole lot of fans in the door for minor league baseball games, and that's how we get you. Once you get in, you're hooked forever. But tell us about this national $10 ticket offer, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums it right up. There is a national $10 minor league baseball ticket offer in effect right now through Tuesday, April 28th. Every single minor league team is involved. It varies by team how many dates are available and which dates, but if you are a fan of literally any active functioning minor league baseball team, then you can check out the $10 ticket deal, look at they have available, and get $10 tickets to a minor league game. And obviously $10 is a good deal in this day and age. A lot of places do have a lot of $10 get-in prices here and there, especially like berm seating and that kind of thing. But if you go to minor league games, especially if you want to sit in a seat, you're paying more than $10, and got a lot of good deals all around the country. Our friend Josh Jackson chose 9 out of the 220 plus options of things you can do.
2,200.
Oh, I said 220. Yeah, 2,200. There's an extra zero there, and I was reading that extra zero. I just didn't say it. Yeah, so there's 2,200 plus games that are available for $10 tickets between 120 teams. Josh Jackson put together through. He says, hey, go see our friends the Somerset Patriots on May 3rd playing the Portland Sea Dogs. Let's check out some top prospects. Tacoma at El Paso, May 5th. We talked about El Paso's ballpark, Southwest University Field, beautiful ballpark. Shouldn't take a $10 ticket deal to get out there, but that is a good one as well. Hit that up on May 5th. Rochester Red Wings at Syracuse Mets, May 10th. I believe that is one of their Duel of the Dish games. Josh doesn't mention it here, but I believe it's a Duel of the Dish, or they have a Duel of the Dish right around there where they play as the Rochester Plates, a.k.a. Garbage Plates, against the Syracuse Salt Potatoes. Even if that May 10th game where you can get a $10 ticket is not a Duel of the Dish, you can still get in on the action and root for the team whose regional specialty you like best, Garbage Plates or Salt Potatoes. San Jose Giants at Ontario Tower Buzzers, May 14th. I mean, that's a good one because Ontario is a brand new ballpark. Get in for $10. And that day is Sci-Fi Day, where fans are encouraged to dress in futuristic or otherworldly costumes. And Edward James Olmos will make a special appearance. His credit here is Detective Gaff in the Blade Runner movies. I guess that's why he's at Sci-Fi Day. But I feel like that guy has quite a wide-ranging film and TV showography, and so on and so forth. Josh says go to Eugene Emeralds. Somehow I turned Emeralds into Maryland. Go to Eugene, Oregon to see the Emeralds on May 24th. Myrtle Beach Pelicans on May 29th, Indianapolis Indians on June 13th, Worcester Red Sox June 26th, Memphis Redbirds July 18th. Get some of those world famous barbecue nachos and see Joey Chestnut taking on a signature Redbird concession item. Maybe it will be those aforementioned barbecue nachos. But anyway, there's 2,200 plus games to choose from, so good deal.
That is a very good deal. And you can all snag your tickets for those. You can read Josh's story at milb.com. And from a place where you can get easy access into a minor league baseball game, we're going to move to a place that people used to be eager to get out of. And that is a spot in Joliet, Illinois that is going to be converted for a baseball game maybe unlike any other, at least in the history of professional baseball. Ben, tell us about what's going on in Joliet, Illinois, a place where you will be to witness this unique event.
Yeah, on April 30th, a week while we're talking here on Thursday the 23rd. This podcast will be out on the 24th. And on April 30th, I will be in Joliet, Illinois to see a team in the Frontier League, the Joliet Slammers, who, as their name would imply, are actually named after the prisons in the area. They're a notable prison industry in Joliet, Illinois, and one of them is the Old Joliet Prison, which closed in 2002 after many, many decades of operation. And that prison, from I believe it was 1914 through 2002, regularly hosted ball games between the inmates at the prison, as a way to get exercise and increase camaraderie and that sort of thing. And so the Joliet Slammers in the Frontier League are going to play an exhibition game against the Gateway Grizzlies on the grounds on this old recreational prison field on April 30th. And that'll be my first road trip of the season. Just one location. I'm just seeing that ball game, the Big House ball game on April 30th. I'm looking forward to that. The Slammers, as of about 2 years ago, are owned by an ownership group that includes Bill Murray and the Vex, Mike Veck, who is Bill Veck's son, and Night Train Veck, who is essentially running the team. He is Mike Veck's son, Bill Veck's grandson, and his real name is, yes, Night Train. Like Night Train, 2 words, Night Train Veck. So looking forward to, I've spoken with him on, via social media and email a lot through the years, but looking forward to meeting him and covering a independent MLB Partner League exhibition baseball game at a former prison. Never been to Joliet before, never covered a game of that nature, and be my first stop of the 2026 season. This year, I'm not releasing my whole schedule at once, just going to kind of do it trip by trip, but this is the first, and I'll have more coming up in May, and we'll talk about that real soon. But Big House ball game, Joliet Slammers, April 30th at the Old Joliet Prison. Looking forward to that. And that is tied into a larger Route 66 kickoff celebration, which is happening all throughout the country, where in towns and cities along the old Route 66, the iconic American road trip road, the mother road of American travel. So I'm not sure exactly how the prison ball game is going to tie in with that celebration, because you're in a prison, you can't travel anywhere. And it's also the kickoff of celebration for a road that let you travel everywhere. But there is that tie-in. And I think that's a pretty good segue, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, that actually segues exactly into what I wanted to talk about next, Ben, which is Springfield is renaming its ballpark from Hammons Field.
Springfield, Missouri, by the way, not to be confused with Springfield, Illinois, next door.
Which
or Springfield, Oregon, or Springfield, Massachusetts, or Springfield, Colorado. They're everywhere. But this one is in Missouri.
This one is in Missouri. And I was looking up somebody's career earlier, and it was somebody who played in the Cardinal system. And he played for Springfield in the Cardinal system in the 80s, except for that was Springfield, Illinois.
No way.
Very different Springfield Cardinals.
Wow.
Midwest League's Springfield Cardinals. Anyway, these Springfield Cardinals.
Not the place where they invented cashew chicken, by the way. That's Springfield, Missouri, and we all know it.
Yes. Yes, it is. They they did play in Hammons Field, but now they will be playing in, as of May 5th, Route 66 Stadium. And we last talked about a name change for Asheville. I think that was last week. We have another stadium change in season coming to Springfield. What can you tell us about this? This is one is kind of unique because there are some corporate partners, there are some public partners, but the brand itself is just named after a route, maybe the most iconic in America.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think we might have to get someone from the Springfield Cardinals on this podcast because I think it's an interesting ballpark naming and not one I've seen the likes of very often. Sam mentioned this ballpark, which opened in 2004, was named Hammons Stadium or John Q. Hammons Stadium after a local businessman and booster. So it's still Hammond Stadium right now, but starting with the team's next homestand, the one that begins on May 5th, it'll be Route 66 Field. And, when teams change their name, and this one's changing from the name of a local ballpark booster, you expect it to be something corporate. And while I often understand the reasoning behind it, it's always a little depressing to lose the local connected name for something corporate. And this one's interesting because it's just Route 66 Stadium, but it is a multifaceted partnership, and this is why I do think it would be good to talk to the team, between the Springfield Cardinals, the city of Springfield, Missouri State, O'Reilly Auto Parts, O'Reilly Auto Parts, meow, and Mercy Health. They've got to be a healthcare company. So you have a multifaceted collaboration here between team, city, university, local business, which I believe the first O'Reilly Auto Parts opened right in Springfield, Missouri, very close to where that ballpark stands. Mercy, something related to the healthcare. So how they all came together to unite under naming this Route 66 is an interesting story, and one we don't know the full details of. They put out a press release today. It's a multi-year agreement. It involves all 5 of these entities, so there'll be new signage, highlighting each of the 5 entities involved in this, but it's ultimately celebrating Route 66, the so-called Mother Road, and its importance to the development of Springfield, Missouri, many years ago. And be curious to see how they celebrate that and make it, part of the ballpark branding and game day experience and that whole kind of thing. And it's a cool name for a stadium, Route 66 Stadium.
It is.
And Route 66 goes a long way because we're talking about Route 66 Stadium in Missouri, and we were talking about how this event in Joliet, Illinois is a Route 66 kickoff, but we have a team in minor league baseball, let's not forget, the Inland Empire 66ers, who are named after Route 66, and they play in San Bernardino, California. So there's a lot of Route 66 to celebrate.
I want to read a quote from this release from Springfield Cardinals, which is, quote, "As the birthplace of the Mother Road, our community holds a unique place in American history," said Springfield City Manager David Cameron. Huge step down from him after Brexit, by the way. Different David Cameron. The decision to rename Hammons Field as Route 66 Stadium reflects that identity in a highly visible and lasting way. This effort demonstrates how public-private collaboration can celebrate our heritage while creating new opportunities for community pride and economic vitality. Route 66 Stadium will serve as a daily reminder to residents and visitors alike of the road that helped shape our city, our region, and our nation. I think that is super cool. And David Cameron lays it out very succinctly in that, the city manager in Springfield, Missouri. But I think even more than just the way that is defined is how often do we see corporations get involved in a naming rights situation and not demand that this is like, oh, it's O'Reilly Auto Parts Stadium at Route 66 Plaza or whatever else. It's the cost of doing business and we all get it. But just me as a sports fan, if you remove everything from, my workload or our titles or whatever we are as the host of this podcast, I hate it. I hate naming rights. I hate uniform ads. I hate digital boards during the hockey playoffs that have ads on them. I hate all that stuff. And I think it's cool. And again, just speaking as a sports fan, that something like, Mercy, the healthcare adjacent folks, or O'Reilly Auto Parts or whoever, they look at something like this and think, no, why don't we do something that's just like about the community and about history? And yeah, we'll have some signage there, but we're not going to make it all about that. This is really cool and good on all of these different entities for coming together in this way.
Yeah, and you can only imagine how much this is going to make Route 66 Stadium a destination.
Yeah.
Too. because having driven on various parts of Route 66 myself, whether it's like the Grand Canyon, everything there is kind of plastered with Route 66, or being at the end of it in California and how much that's celebrated, or, people like traveling on that road. And I think, we're going to talk to Matt Burns about this shortly. I think there's this kind of real feeling right now across travelers to not just get on an interstate or not just get on a plane and like take some of the smaller roads. And I think more people are going to be doing that. I want to say Route 66 might have like an anniversary coming up too. So there might be,
it does, yeah.
It might be a lot of people traveling that specifically. But like, if you're going along and you're like, oh, there's a stadium named after what I said earlier, the most famous road in America.
Wow, we got to hit this.
Yeah. Like you want to stop by just to check it out. So I wonder how they'll be celebrating it inside the stadium. Will there be some changes in terms of what's going on in the infrastructure inside to be maybe more car centric or travel centric? I don't know, but this opens up so many doors of people wanting to stop by maybe while they're on the mother road themselves.
Yeah,
it's really cool stuff. 100 years of Route 66.
November 11th, 1926, but 1926 to 2026, 100 years.
That's amazing.
66. So that's why, along with America writ large, the semi-quincentennial, we'll be seeing as a sort of a subhead within that 100 years of Route 66.
One take that we're going to have to get on this is from longtime friend of the show, Jason Schwartz, who was the radio voice of the Springfield Cardinals. It's not often that in the middle of a season, you're asked to change the name of the ballpark that you call home. And I feel like on a broadcast, that'd be really tricky to not just instinctively, have the Hammond's Field thing as a reaction constantly in your brain of, well, that's the name of this ballpark. So we'll have to get the thoughts of what it's like for all those Texas League broadcasters to be like, Hammond's Field. Oh, right, Route 66 Stadium. But that is really cool stuff, and good on Springfield and the various forces involved in that renaming. Really cool stuff. Ben's Biz Banter, as always, presented by Circle K, the official convenience store of minor league baseball. And Ben, speaking of road trips, that's where we're headed next. A road trip topic du jour this week.
Yeah, I was talking about me just going to one measly place next week, but we're talking to Matt Burns, who, along with his father Tom, has been on ambitious road trips. This will be his 6th year doing that, and we'll get into all that. So let's talk to Matt Burns about planning and executing, and for the most part, enjoying ambitious minor league baseball road trips every single season, how he goes about doing that, and his favorite memories from that.
This episode is brought to you by Ferrero. Soccer's biggest stage is approaching, and Ferrero is making it easy to go all in. Pick any 2 Ferrero brands from Kinder Bueno to Ferrero Rocher, and you could win the $1 million grand prize, plus an exciting range of daily and weekly prizes. Don't miss your shot. Official rules apply. Learn more at goallinandwin.com.
Here on the Show Before the Show podcast, we are joined by Matt Burns, who next week will embark on his 6th annual father-son road trip with his dad, Tom, hitting 19 ballparks in 22 days. I paused at the numbers there because I tried to do this once and got some of them wrong, but I think I got it right then. But yeah, a lot of planning goes into these trips, a lot of maps, a lot of social media, a lot of write-ups. And it's a big part of, sharing minor league travel with the larger community. And we want to talk about it. So, Matt, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me today, Ben, and everybody else, too.
Yeah. And you're leaving we are talking here today on Thursday, the 23rd. You're leaving on, is it May 3rd on this next
May 3rd will be the first game. So I will fly up next Friday to see my dad in Portland, have dinner with him, his wife, and my son, who lives up in that area, too. And then we'll fly out Saturday to Raleigh-Durham and start our first game on Sunday with the Wilson Warbirds on May 3rd.
Nice. Yeah, the brand new Wilson Warbirds, one of the new ballparks and new teams in minor league baseball this year. But let's go back to the beginning. Yeah, this is the 6th time you've done this. All these trips have been ambitious, different number of parks each year, but it's never just a long weekend or something like that. How did this come about, putting together such ambitious minor league itineraries and, documenting it throughout and, having your dad on board as well?
Yeah, well, it started in 2019. I went to a San Jose Giants game on opening night with a bunch of people from work. And I just immediately fell in love with everything. Like the fun on the field between innings, the cool concessions with turkey Mike's barbecue down the left field line, that old ballpark with all the banners and history of the players and teams that have been there. And then like the rituals, like the beer batter and stuff like that. And it was a packed house that night. So, we got strike three on a beer batter and half the crowd, emptied out to go run for discounted beer. And I just thought I was just so in love with it. It was just a great positive experience, a really good community feel to it, not corporate, just felt like a really nice, positive experience. And plus, you've got these players on the field who, they're trying to live out their baseball dreams like I did when I was a kid. And they're talented guys who are trying to work up through the system. And it's hard not to root for, both teams in that aspect, right? And it's just especially because the teams sort of switch out each year. It's just a great positive experience all the way around. And I thought I need to do as much of this as possible and see as many of these ballparks as I possibly can. And so that year I did do a trip in 2019 with my son because my dad had a full schedule. And we went to 15 ballparks in 19 days in California. And so saw all the 10 minor league teams that were there at the time, and then the 5 major league teams. And I was hooked for sure. And so I talked to Dad, started planning a trip for 2020. That didn't happen. We had already started booking hotels when COVID hit. So then we decided in 2021 that we would do our first trip to the Carolinas because there's so many teams there in such a short space in North and South Carolina. We went to 15 minor league ballparks, and that's really the priority. And we did 16 overall in just 17 days. And then we followed it up with a trip to the Northwest. We saw 16 ballparks in 19 days there. And then the Mid-Atlantic in 2023, we did 20 ballparks in 21 days. In the Eastern Midwest, so the east of the Mississippi, in 2024, we saw 23 ballparks in 23 days, which was maybe a little overambitious. But we kind of flew into Chicago O'Hare, immediately went to a Chicago Dogs game, and finished up with Kenosha Kingfish on our way to the airport back home. And then last year we did the Western Midwest, so 20 ballparks in 21 days west of the Mississippi in those 7 states, driving all around. Saw just like 7 minor league teams, but filled it in with a lot of independent and collegiate summer league teams then. And so this year, yes, the South, we're going to 8 different states, seeing games in 8 different states, excluding the teams we've seen in the Carolinas already, excluding the teams we've seen in Virginia, and as well as Florida, which we might do someday in the future as its separate trip, maybe a retirement trip. And so this year it's the Southern teams, 19 ballparks in 22 days.
Nice. And yeah, you said this started with a love of the San Jose Giants, and I was remiss in the intro to not introduce you as my San Jose Giants designated eater a few years back. So that's the one time we've crossed paths in real life. And, when I'm doing my road trips or kind of the general, tagline for my work, a lot of time I say something to the effect of exploring America through minor league baseball. Right. And then often I don't have enough time to actually explore the things around the areas. But it looks like part of the planning for you guys too is not just the ball games, but what can you do in those pockets of time when you're not driving to the next location, but you have 2, 3, 4 hours to hit points of interest, museums, kitschy tourist destinations, what have you. So how do you go about planning these trips and on both fronts? You're obviously have to do it in the context of the teams, the schedules when they're home, but then how do you fill in the blanks throughout, and how much is, we're definitely going to do this, or just like, whoa, what did we just drive by, and taking it from there?
Well, I like to say, like, I plan trips to the people I'm traveling with. So when I travel with my wife, we've got several options of things we could do during the day. It's not very well pinned down. When I travel with my dad, it's like he wants to know what we're doing every 15 minutes of the day. So we get this really well worked out ahead of time. It starts in October around, when we start to think about what region we're going to go to. And then from there once the schedules start to come out, we start to settle on what the route is going to be. I used to use, spreadsheets and stare for hours and hours and hours at spreadsheets trying to figure out, okay, we got a nice string of ballparks here. Oops, that team's not going to be there for 2 more weeks. So we got to start over. And I would like 4 hours on a Sunday just staring at a spreadsheet and still come up with nothing. And this year I used AI actually. So I fed it all the schedules of 47 teams in the South, and it eventually spit out of like 10 different possible options that really worked for me. But some of them were like June and July when it was going to be really hot. And the schedule that I have here, which is in May, which would be a little bit better, really emphasized minor league baseball. When we go in June and July, we can kind of fill in gaps with collegiate summer league and independent teams and stuff. But we're going to have Mondays off this time, which is okay. We get to do some laundry once in a while on the trip. But so that's sort of the basic planning process. And then we're not just spending these 3 weeks together. We talk about it every day over email. And I kind of do a walkthrough for about a month saying, okay, now we're going to Louisville. Here are the sites we could see in Louisville. What do you want to do? Here are the lunch spots that we could go to. Here, there's the top 6, I think, in this area. And I link him to the menu and I link him to the vibe and all that stuff. And I let him make sort of the final decisions on those things. And even when like single game tickets come out, I've scouted out like where the sun's going to set and when it's going to set and make sure we're sitting on the right side of the ballpark and make sure there's no railings in front of us. And then I give him like 3 or 4 different options and he chooses those as well. So we're definitely looking for, as far as sites, we like history, we like art, and we definitely want to prioritize regionally appropriate, stuff. So in Louisville, we're going to go to the Louisville Slugger Museum and do a tour there. We're going to see the Ali Center. We're going to try to get into the Kentucky Derby Museum and have enough time for that. And those kinds of things are really priorities for us because we both not only have a shared love of baseball, but of travel as well.
And piggybacking off of that, I mean, from your trips in the past, what is something you've learned about maybe a stadium, maybe a city, or maybe just, you're going through these wide swaths of regions. Like, what have you learned about the country at large, maybe even in doing some of these trips?
Yeah, I think you do a lot of travel in where you just like fly into a city. Maybe you're there for a convention, maybe for business or for something else, and you do a few things in that city and you fly back out. And what I love about these road trips and the kinds of things Ben talks about a lot is that you see all this connective tissue between these places. We try to travel the blue highways, if you will, the smaller roads, stay off the interstates, travel through towns, and just get a feel for what each of these regions is like. And I'm a huge fan of travel, obviously, but I just love having a sense of that place. The tobacco fields, I still remember when we did the Carolinas trip, the cornfields in the Midwest and all of that. And then there's towns that I wouldn't, go to on a quote vacation, but I still love like having a sense of place. Now I know what South Bend, Indiana is like, and no disrespect to South Bend, Indiana, just as an example, but lots of other cities like that where we just have a real broad understanding of. Obviously, we're not getting real in depth on each one of these places, but just we make sure we're driving around the downtown. We make sure we're getting to the blue highways and just get as good a sense of the region as possible in the time we have.
And when you do get to the ballpark, because as you said, everything is just so curated in terms of where you're sitting and making sure the sun's not in your face and you're not going to get a suntan or a sunburn on day 2 of a 21-day trip. Do you have an agenda? Like, is it like immediately you get in and you head to the concession stands, or you immediately take a walk around if it's a 360 concourse? I've been at games with Ben and Ben has, a checklist of things he's trying to do, but he's got a job to do. You guys are there just for fun. So what does it look like when you show up?
Yeah, we definitely do. So I do a video series as well on these things. So the first thing we do is kind of shoot some stuff out front of the ballpark for that. Then when we get inside the gates, the first place we go to is the team store. And we get, I'll get my one hat. I don't allow myself any more than one hat because I've already got a wall full of hats that is like an advancing army on the personal photos that we have on the wall, and the hats are winning right now. So we'll do that. He'll get a logo baseball, and then he'll go to his seat, and we'll take a selfie from there. And then I'll start to do a little bit of walk around to see what I can capture of things before the game begins, because once the game begins, I want to spend as much time as I can with Dad in our seats. And so I'll film and take photos and do things like that around the ballpark. I will have scouted out the concessions beforehand as much as possible. It's not always easy to get good info on that. I create a giant document for this, and one of the pieces in there is the concessions, and I will take the best of like sort of like non just hot dog hamburger sort of concessions, and I put them in what I call a concession strategy document, so that we can see like what are the regionally appropriate things, the fan favorites, all that kind of stuff. And so, like Ben's newsletters and his designated eaters and stuff like that are play a big role in there. I have my eyes on several things this year in my strategy document from that. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. And then once the game starts, I try to get in the seat for, opening ceremonies and all of that stuff. We'll be there for a few innings. I'll get Dad some food in the third inning or so, stay in for a few more innings. And then I will in the late innings, probably usually do a walk around the concourse, the 360 concourse if they have it. Often the sun is shining out there earlier in the game, so it's better to be out there around sunset.
Matt, there is so much attention that comes along with great stories like this, especially when it involves parents and kids, or kids and their kids. What has that been like when up on the website at mappingthepath.com? You've got an ABC World News Tonight segment that featured you guys and stuff from local news outlets. What's that been like for all these different trips?
It's been pretty incredible. I mean, I do something that I'll probably do on the day that this podcast comes out, which is a mega thread is what I call it, really, where I'm describing in a thread each one of the ballparks and who we're going to see and all of that. And I do tag local media in those because having been in journalism, which is where I started my career, I know those are great local news stories. People love that stuff. We were covered in Sioux City, Iowa last year, and the reporter who did that just won an award for that story I just saw. So it's a perfect, I think, a perfect match for those things. And it's fun for us. I mean, right, it's fun to have the attention and all that stuff. We're doing this big thing, putting all this effort into it. So it's nice to do that. That experience last year was kind of crazy, though. We ended up being covered by 5 local TV news stations. In Fargo, we had 2 different stations covering us. So we have one cameraman over here on this side, another cameraman over here on this side, trying to get B-roll footage of us. And as it turned out, 3 of the stations that covered us were ABC affiliates, so it got the attention of a producer for ABC World News Tonight. We had a rain out. The one rain out last year was in Burlington with the Burlington Bees. And so we were going back to the hotel and just going to relax and watch the College World Series and have some dinner in the hotel. And she texted me and said, could you send me all the photos and videos that you've got of this trip? We want to do a story on you. And here's some, we'll give you some interview questions so you can, record yourselves tomorrow and send that along as well. And that was just surreal to be on the nightly news as the Father's Day segment for them. It was absolutely amazing.
Well, and that's the coolest thing about it is it's not just about baseball, but obviously it's about the relationship. And it's, not just the relationship between you and your dad. It's the relationship between so many baseball fans and their father or their mother or whoever it is. What does it mean in your specific context, the relationship that you guys have and getting a chance to share this? And especially, I would imagine after that national news piece last year, seeing yourselves reflected in so many other people, or maybe more accurately, so many other people seeing themselves reflected in you guys.
Yeah, we do get a lot of people sort of rooting for us along the way, and that's always a lot of fun, and they get very excited along with us. I have a great relationship with my dad. We get along really well. We often get asked, like, in a 3-week trip, is it just going to be problems at some point, right? I mean, you're going to get on each other's nerves, but we've learned, each other's sort of tempos and know when somebody's in a bad mood, when to back off and all of that kind of stuff. And we just get along great on these trips, and it's been just a really great way for us to share our love of baseball, our love of travel, to spend a much richer time together. He used to fly down for Father's Day, and we'd play a round of golf and go out to dinner a couple of times, and then he'd fly back. This is us all day long talking and sharing stories and talking about related things that we're also interested in. And, at the stage of both of our lives, this is just an invaluable experience. I should say, too, that it's part of this is also my son. My son is a composer and an animator, and he produces the video series assets and all of that stuff. So in the lead up to the trip, I'm working with him, during the day. And I, have a 3-hour meeting on Discord chat with him where he's tinkering around with the music or the animations, and I'm giving him feedback and I'm doing my planning and all of that stuff. And so, minor league baseball has given me, in a way, a lot of these experiences, or a good excuse to have these experiences, and it's just invaluable, as I said.
Well, Tyler hit on reactions from the media and the coverage you've gotten in that ABC News segment. But what about two other elements of this is the teams themselves. I know sometimes, when they get wind of someone on a trip like that or someone they can promote, do you ever get special attention from teams or teams that go the extra mile because you're there? And then, you're doing this on social media. You've gotten some good traction, especially as I know how it works when you post a good graphic. That's what people like. People don't read anymore.
No,
anyway, people love to see road trip itineraries. So have you met people on the way who are either teams that are like, oh, yes, we knew you were coming, we're excited, or fans who are like, oh, yeah, welcome. And how do those relationships, develop and continue on?
Yeah, we get fantastic treatment from a lot of teams, that know we're coming. So like last year, Cedar Rapids, the Colonels were incredible to us. It was a Tuesday night, so they didn't have, a lot of big promotions or things going on. And they just laid out the red carpet for us. We met people outside the gates, inside the gates. We got to be on the broadcast, and we've done about, I think, 7 broadcasts or so over the years now too, radio broadcasts where we can tell the story there as well. I've gotten to throw out the first pitch like 9 times in different ballparks. I'm looking to get above the high A level at some point, but we just really, really, really appreciate it. It's so nice that people are excited about what we're doing, exciting that we're helping to promote minor league baseball as well. So it's just a win-win.
Yeah, and then we've mentioned you being on social media and doing in-depth write-ups, a lot of your ballpark visits. We mentioned mapping the path. I know that's a broadly speaking, the name and the website you use, but if you could get more specific on that and tell people just how the best ways to follow along on your upcoming Southern Swing starting May 3rd.
Yes, so I'm mapping the path on Twitter/X, on Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube. And after the road, I will be posting many times a day during the road trip, the sites, the ballparks, the teams, the jerseys, the concessions, the promos. And then after the trip, I'll produce the video series, and I'll usually get started on that within the next couple weeks after the trip. On YouTube, I'll be posting those episodes. They're like 10-minute episodes, a lot of just quick clips of things. So you just get a lot of feel for what it's like to be at the ballpark with a short introduction from me. And then after that, really kind of in the wintertime, I hunker down and try to do the writing. So the writing takes quite a long time, and I usually have about 1,000 photos, and that's no joke, that I'm working with. This past trip, I did 42 chapters, and I pretty much got it done about 6 weeks ago. So it is just kind of an 18-month process, this entire thing, from planning to doing the trip and then writing about it afterwards.
Well, cool. You got a lot of fun ahead of you. A lot of work as well.
Yes.
But I know it's a labor of love, and I know you're excited to get back out there. And we're looking forward to following along with you on your next trip, and appreciate you taking the time to speak with us about it.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
That was Matt Burns, mapping the path, about to hit the road again.
Now's the time to save on new carpet at the Home Depot. Receive 10% off your total carpet project and 12 months special financing. Plus, we'll measure your space for free. Choose from a variety of stylish, on-trend options fit for everyday life. With LifeProof with pet-proof technology, Home Decorators Collection, and Traffic Master carpets. Save 10% and get 12 months special financing now at the Home Depot. Offer valid April 16th through May 3rd, 2026. Exclusions apply. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
Well, great stuff from Mathew Burns for joining us on this week's episode of the show before the show. And with that, we are going to get into the stuff that everybody travels to go see. We'll talk some on-field baseball things across minor league baseball as we get set to close the month of April. But Sam, we're going to start things in the Midwest League with thankfully, a story that as of right now has a good conclusion to it. The second-ranked prospect in the Milwaukee Brewers organization, number 21 overall, Luis Pena, was hospitalized on Wednesday night in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Now, we're recording this on Thursday. Luis is out of the hospital. He passed out during the 8th inning of High A Wisconsin's game in Fort Wayne with his team out in front 9-3 in the 8th inning. According to the Brewers, their general manager, Matt Arnold, Pena passed out after becoming overheated. He was given IV fluids at the hospital, showed improvement, and Arnold told MLB.com's Adam McCalvy in a text message, quote, "Sounds like he's fine according to our docs, but certainly a scary situation we will monitor." Thankfully, Pena is out of the hospital today, but Sam, this is always scary stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were hearing messages, there were things flying around social media last night about the game between Wisconsin and Fort Wayne ending early, being ambulances involved. It involves a player in the Wisconsin dugout. Then people, start tweeting and posting, it was the shortstop for Wisconsin. That's Luis Pena, who came out of the game early. You're worried about it anytime it's any player, regardless of prospect standing, all of that. But the fact that it was perhaps the most noteworthy player in that game set off even more alarm bells. Credit to Adam McCalvy, who you mentioned, Tyler, wrote up the story for MLB.com and contacted the Brewers about it this morning and got those updates. So it was really a roller coaster couple of hours there between the late night last night in the Midwest League and the early morning. As you said, the update from the Brewers and from their officials that Luis Pena has been released, so he's not being held in the hospital anymore. He's not being treated anymore. Would not shock me if he takes a few days off just to be super careful. But for something that seemed extremely scary, and you never know, and you're in that information vacuum, as we were for much of Wednesday night, to find out that it was just over perhaps some dehydration, getting those IV fluids is big. So we'll keep it posted, at MLB Pipeline and MLB.com and Brewers.com through Adam McCalvy on what next steps for Luis Pena could be. But when you hear medical emergency, obviously your mind goes all sorts of places. And this is a better outcome than it certainly seemed at this, just as we're sitting here now 20 hours ago.
So certainly sending all of our best to Luis Pena, and thankfully it appears as though he is headed for better days ahead. And with that, we will move to an on-field topic that is something that it feels like we've gotten really used to talking about the last couple of years, and that is just like another somehow massive surge in pop at the plate for Franklin Arias in the Boston Red Sox organization, the Caracas, Venezuela product, who went from one professional home run in his debut season in the Dominican Summer League in 2023 to 9 combined in 2024. Last year saw time at 3 different levels, made the climb all the way up to Double-A. This season, through 12 games, he has hit 5 home runs. Coming into the season, he had 18 home runs, Sam, but it feels like every year we continue to see this progression with him. The other thing that you really like about Franklin Arias is that the plate discipline seems to be really strong with him as well. He walked more times than he struck out in his debut season. Last year, he had really good strike zone judgment, only struck out 53 times in 116 games. He walked 38 times. So far this year, more walks than strikeouts. What has contributed most to the continued growth of this guy as a young hitter? He's still just in his age 20 season. He will not be 21 until November 19th. So he's got a lot of growth still to do as a ball player, but he's been really good his first few pro campaigns.
Yeah, and especially this year. I mean, this feels like a true breakout so far for Arias. I mean, he is number 26 on our top 100, and a lot of that had to do with the hit tool that you were talking about there, Tyler, the fact that he has been somebody who's been able to put the ball in play. But on top of that, he's one of the best defenders in all of the minor leagues. We gave him a plus defensive tool at shortstop, despite the fact that he's below average runner. I mean, everything else that he does defensively, he might not be the quickest to move, but he's got really good baseball IQ. He can cover ground. He makes good decisions. He's got that above average arm strength. So it looks like he's a surefire shortstop with a plus hit. Really, really exciting. And given the youth, you would hope maybe he could add some power as it went along. I know some people were actually doubting his ability to do that. They looked at him. They're like, the frame just isn't there, right, for him to add strength. Watching him the last 6 games, and he's homered 5 times in his last 6 games now as we're recording this. I think we may have brought him up last week, but like the power has really come on in the last week. He is swinging harder. And that's something you're hearing a lot about everybody trying to do now, right? Is chase bat speed, is, get your A swings off is the thing that you'll hear a lot more about. And especially somebody who is like him, normally when you are putting the ball in play a lot, you're not swinging exactly hard. Like look at Luis Arias. Obviously, he's the prime example of high average, little power in AAA or in the major leagues. And then you look at him on bat speed leaderboards and he's at the exact bottom. The bat is staying through the zone a long time because it's moving slowly, and that helps him make contact. But it's not leading to massive power, and he has defensive questions that Arias doesn't have. Now, if he's marrying that bat to ball with quicker bat speed, you don't need to be jacked necessarily to get to that. You just need to be agile, and that's certainly what he's doing. That homer he hit most recently on Wednesday, it was a leadoff homer in Portland. I tuned in just to watch him. Honestly, I was like, all right, let's see if he can do it again. Homered in his first at bat, leadoff homer for the Sea Dogs. He got out ahead of that real quick and pulled it down the line. Obviously, in Portland, they have the Maine Monster, which is designed to look like the Green Monster in Fenway Park. If he's going to pull and lift the ball like that, I mean, he's going to have a very successful career for the Boston Red Sox. We'll see what his homer tally is going to be at the end of the year. It's certainly on pace to be a career record. You ran through it there, Tyler. He's never hit double-digit home runs in a single season just yet, but he's certainly on the path to do that now.
Yeah,
is he going to slug?
10th of the way into the season, you're already halfway to double digits. That bodes okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say he plays 116 games like he did last year, he's on track to hit 50 home runs.
Yeah.
He's not going to do that. I feel comfortable saying here on this podcast, and if we want to go back and play the clip where he hits 50 home runs in the minor leagues, we can do that. But he's slugging 900 right now. I mean, let me just run you through Franklin Arias, what he leads minor league baseball in. He's the leader in average at 450. Nobody else is hitting above 424. He's the leader in slugging percentage at 900. Nobody else is slugging above 870. And he has the highest OPS of minor league qualifiers at 1.431. Nobody else has an OPS above 1400. So this guy has far and away been the minor league player of the year to this point. And if he's doing that with the glove, I'm not saying they're going to push him to AAA Worcester just yet. And I'm not going to predict, a debut at some point this year because he is so young. The Red Sox have Trevor Story. The Red Sox have a lot of other problems that they need to fix first. Franklin Arias is trending towards becoming a top 15, top 10. I mean, we'll see how long this power holds, but if he answers that question mark and we're to average power with a plus hit tool and plus glove, I mean, that's top 10 territory easily, maybe even top 5. So big arrow up next to Franklin Arias' name now. He has to hold it. He's the top prospect in many of the games he's playing, so he's going to be the target, but now pitchers aren't going to want to give him anything to hit. They're not going to be the ones to be like, hey, all right, now he's hit 6 homers in 7 games, 7 homers in 8 games. They don't want to be the ones adding to that streak. So I guarantee you he's not going to see many middle pitches because people are now worried about what happens when they serve it up to him like that. But how can he adjust when pitchers adjust to him? That's the next big question, but everything pointing in the right direction so far for Franklin Arias.
All right, Sam, let's talk a little bit of pitching progression in a couple of different spots across Major League Baseball. Riff Rambazoo, the Texas Christian alumnus Peyton Tolley, is headed up to the Boston Red Sox, the top prospect in that organization. I had to say that. My wife is in the next room, and she's a TCU alumna. But Peyton Tolley goes back up to the big leagues, of course, made his Major League debut last season, but still prospect status, top prospect in the Boston organization. He'll make the start actually today opposite Cam Schlittler for the New York Yankees in their matchup tonight. Again, we're recording this on Thursday the 23rd. And then in the Atlanta organization, J.R. Ritchie has made the jump to the major leagues. A guy who was a high school pick back in 2022, his age 22 season. J.R. Ritchie, the number 2 prospect in that system. The right-hander goes up for Atlanta, and the lefty arriving in Boston in Tolley.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting times for both of these guys. A few weeks ago, Jim Callis was asking Jonathan Mayo and I, who do you think will be the first top 100 prospect up after Connor Griffin? And I said Tolley. And Jim joked with me and was just like, oh man, that's a real hot take considering Peyton Tolley was with the Red Sox for the stretch run last year into the playoffs. But I've always just been really intrigued. Obviously the Red Sox went with Connolly early, coming out of spring training. And just because Connolly early has a more well-rounded starting pitching look. He can throw multiple pitches. Peyton Tolley is somebody he's going to come at you with that massive extension, right, and get that fastball right on top of you. And that's how he feasts. It's a very fastball heavy look. The Red Sox the last few years have been an organization that has kind of gone away from throwing fastballs a lot, out of the idea of, hey, just throw your best stuff. Peyton Tolley, that's a four-seamer. So that's how it's going to work for him. We'll see how some of the secondaries come across. It's actually interesting comparing him to a J.R. Ritchie, who J.R. Ritchie today, pretty strong opening debut for the Braves going up against the Nationals, served up a home run to James Wood on the very first pitch he threw. I would say that was definitely a learning moment. I don't want to say it was middle. It was a little bit more towards the outer half of the plate, but caught a lot of plate with his first pitch, and James Wood absolutely punished him for it. But J.R. Ritchie is somebody with a more diverse pitch mix. He's somebody who got onto our top 100 because of the fact that he can come at you with multiple different pitch types. I think it's at least 6 that he can come at you with. Everything kind of grades out average to above average, but if he can throw all of them, and like the pitch usage on all of them was, I don't think he threw anything more than 30%. So he's going to keep you on your toes. And if all of them are like average movement profile, so they're pretty good, and you have to guess, you're not going to be able to sit on just the four-seamer. He's going to have a sinker, he's going to have a slider, he's going to have a curveball, he's going to have a changeup. Like, there's multiple pitches here that you have to think about. That's really difficult for a hitter. So J.R. Ritchie coming up now, we'll see how things go here for him and the Braves. Once you give up that leadoff homer to the first batter you face, everything's going to hopefully go better from there, and it certainly did for him today against the Nationals. But yeah, just to confirm, 6 different pitch types. It's that four-seamer, that sinker, that sweeper / slider, curveball, changeup, and a cutter. So it's just multiple different ways, nothing thrown more than 28.8% of the time. And I think that's how he's going to be a serviceable pitcher. Is he an ace? No. I mean, he's not as highly ranked because of that, because he doesn't have that true standout pitch. But everything else is really good and is diverse, and that's what's going to make it work for J.R. Ritchie. So we'll see how things go for him from here.
Fun stuff for some of the best prospects in baseball making the climb to the big leagues, and that will wrap this week's episode, at least on-field wise. But coming up after the break, it's Name That Dude time on this week's episode of The Show Before the Show.
You tell yourself, no one wants your college-era band tees. But on Depop, people are searching for exactly what you've got. You once paid a small fortune for them at merch stands. Now, a teenager who calls them vintage will offer that same small fortune back. Sell them easily on Depop. Just snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. Who knew your questionable music taste would be a money-making machine? Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
Final segment of this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. We have had some fun. Huge thanks to Matt Burns for joining us, talking about his upcoming trip with his pops. And before we get out of here, it is time for a game that you can play on the road trip of your choice to minor league baseball or other baseball-related things here in the summer of 2026 and beyond. And that is the latest episode of Name That Dude, in which one of us picks a dude from baseball years past and the other two try to guess who that dude is. This week, Benjamin Hill has the dude. Sam Dykstra and I will try to guess the dude. Ben, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I got a dude. This is a good dude, and this dude was a suggestion of a listener named Ben Beaupre. Beaupre. Ben, I wish I knew how to say your name. Beaupre.
I would bet Beaupre. We used to have a congressman from here. His last name was Beaupre. I think it was a different spelling, but it was Beaupre.
Well, Ben, if you're listening, let us know if we're getting this right. But Ben Beaupre. And he emailed me this suggestion for a dude, and it's a good thing he chose me because it's my kind of dude. I would have gotten him pretty quickly, I think. But let's see how you guys do. I'm not saying that's because I'm so much better, but this guy's a little bit more my era. This is the old man on the show. But this dude was drafted, a native of Uniontown, Pennsylvania, drafted by the San Francisco Giants with the 24th overall pick in 1984. Debuted in the minors that season with the Everett Giants in the Northwest League, and also spent some time with the Fresno Giants back when they were in the California League before Fresno became Pacific Coast League and then went back to the California League. So, debuts in 1984, the same year he was drafted with Everett and Fresno. 1985, the whole season with a fairly long gone minor league team, the Shreveport Captains. I believe they had an era as well as the Swamp Dragons, but a Texas League team in Shreveport, Louisiana in 1985. Then 1986, another minor league baseball blast from the past, the Phoenix Firebirds in the PCL. Spent almost all that season with the Phoenix Firebirds, then debuted with the Giants in 1986. Didn't go too well. 87, whole season, he's back with the Phoenix Firebirds. 88, most of the season with Phoenix Firebirds, but also some time back up with the Giants. 89, oh boy, Phoenix again. Then some time with the Giants, just 5 games. Then over to the Philadelphia Phillies to conclude the 1989 season, where he spent 90, 91, 92, and 93 before going back or going to the Yankees for the 1994 season. 1995, back to the Giants. He even fit in one game, probably a rehab assignment, with the Phoenix Firebirds in 1995. His old pals in Phoenix.
He couldn't quit.
He could not quit those Phoenix
even after some time
Firebirds.
away. He was like, I got to get back to Phoenix for a game.
Yeah, goes the Giants to the Phillies, to the Yankees, to the Giants, back to the Phillies in 1996. Doesn't even finish that season in Philadelphia. Finishes it with Seattle. And that's the only time he played in Seattle, just the back half of 96, because then in 97 he was with the Cubs, didn't finish that. Or 97, he's back with the Giants for a third stint, then goes to the Cubs and spends 98 with the Cubs into 99. 99 season, though, he gets over to the Atlanta Braves for 99 and 2000. 2001, the Pirates, but doesn't finish that season with Pittsburgh, goes to the Los Angeles Dodgers. 2002, starts with the Dodgers, but goes to the Cleveland Indians. 2003, the whole season with Cleveland. 2004 and 2005, the Minnesota Twins. Then 2006, at the age of 43, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and won 3 more games, not with Phoenix, but with Tucson in the PCL in 2006 at age 43. So this guy played professionally from 1984 to 2006. He was a pitcher. And yeah, I guess that's obvious based on that.
Wait, get on the mic. Get on the microphone, Samuel.
I just want to get this name out of my system, and I don't think it's this guy, but I do have memories of him pitching for the Cubs and the Giants. No, I'm just going to say Rod Beck just to get it out of my system, but it's not it. It's not Rod Beck.
I have a guess as well. I don't think
it's not
it's
Rod Beck.
Okay.
He played in 600. This pitcher pitched 685 games, roughly split between starting and relieving. I personally, as a Phillies fan of that era, remember him as a starter, but he started 332 games out of 685 total, played with a whole heck of a lot of teams all the way to age 43.
I have a guess because it's a guy that I remember as a Philly, but I also remember some Giants time, but he just feels like one of those dudes who was like, that guy's still playing. Does it happen to be, wait, does Sam have another guess?
No.
Oh, okay. Does it happen to be Terry Mulholland?
Correct.
Yes. I'm thinking like 90s baseball names. Who was one of those 90s names you're like, man, that guy's around here. That guy's there now. That guy's here. That guy, now he's a reliever. Now he's a starter. Now that guy's with the D-backs. Now Terry Mulholland was around I did not realize he pitched until his age. What was it? His age 43, 46 season?
43 season in 2006.
In 2006.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
He was around for a long time. And sometimes I watch a Phillies broadcast and his name comes up and John Kruk always clowns on him a little bit. And he's like, well, Terry, who knows where Terry is? He's like, he acts like Terry Mulholland is a recluse who lives off the grid and does his own thing. And that very may well be the case. I mean, he's a well-traveled man. He's probably laying low these days and living his own eccentric life.
685 career appearances. There is a Google image result of him these days that's from his Wikipedia page that makes him seem, oh man, these days, this is from 2012, makes it seem as though Terry Mulholland settled into like a very nice post-baseball playing career as like the bassist in a band. He's got like a cool, long hair and a cool Cool goatee. His Wikipedia page has one line for personal life. And it says, quote, Mulholland lists baseball card collecting as one of his hobbies.
Like, but did they get that from the back of one of his baseball cards?
Also, like, that's all. This dude played professional baseball for 20 plus years. That's all we know about him. That's seems kind of short.
Terry Mulholland's off the grid. He pitched.
Good for him, man. Yeah. Must be amazing.
He pitched a no-hitter for the Phillies in 1990, I want to say, where Charlie Hayes made the last out on a screaming line drive. So I always remember that. And he was member of that 93 Phillies starting rotation where all 5 starters had 10 wins or more. Terry Mulholland, Tommy Green, Curt Schilling, Danny Jackson, and Ben Rivera. I did it all by myself.
That is very impressive. That's very impressive. Yeah, there does not seem to be a whole ton of updates on what Terry Mulholland is doing these days. So good for him. That sounds incredible. Just be a guy who like, yeah, I'll play baseball for 20 years and then I'm out of here. Y'all don't need to hear from me anymore. That's amazing. Good for Terry
he's just
Mulholland.
camping on the grounds of the old Phoenix Firebird Stadium.
Well,
that's what he's doing.
It's very funny to me that he ended his career with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah. How fitting. Yeah. Spent all that time in Phoenix early on, and then he was like, I'm coming back here when it's a big league city. I'm going to conquer this place again.
Yeah, and he even played a couple games in Tucson at age 43. Just could not get this Arizona baseball out of his system.
Good for Terry Mulholland. That's awesome. A very good dude for this week's episode of Name That Dude. That's pretty impressive stuff. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of the show. Before the show, you can get in touch, as always, with the podcast at MILB.com. And for Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill, my name is Tyler Maughan. Terry Mulholland, wherever you are, we wish you all the best. And we'll catch you all next week.